seemed so very confident. And also, as we talked with them backstage, they did talk about some Reinhardt strats they're going to pull out of their sleeves. So I'm excited.
All right, well, the desk is excited, but now it's time to get into the game. It will be Vietnam with plenty to gain and really nothing to lose versus a Finnish team that has all the confidence in the world. Who will come out on top? Let's go ahead and send it over to your casters. It'll be ZP and Uber.
There have been rumblings in the north, and from the ice-covered wastes, a group of rugged Finns emerges now, going up against Southeast Asia's finest offering in Vietnam, or at least one of them. ZP, great to be back here with you for this game. One team, tried, tested, and true. The other, of course, Vietnam, is a full roster from many months of practice, and they've been looking very good in their home region.
They have indeed, and this is a case where we get to find out just how strong is Vietnam, where you take a look at this Finland team. They are mostly comprised of the team formerly known as Ninjas Pajamas, now RIP, but with the addition of everyone's favorite player with good aim, Taimu.
I've heard as well, we talked about Davin cosplaying Taimu, essentially practicing with this RIP roster in preparation. He literally played like whole maps as McCree. He's like, oh, Timo would do this, wouldn't he? He'd play McCree. So they have tried to simulate the presence of Taimu as much as possible. Not an easy thing to emulate for anyone, perhaps, but still. This is a roster yesterday that had a lot of practice. They cut a swath through a lot of Australian teams who graciously offered to scrim them. So they're feeling good.
Yeah, they're feeling great. I mean, we sort of alluded to it on the desk, but Finland was easily perhaps the most confident team that we interviewed. For right or wrong, they definitely feel like they will be able to storm through their group. And Mitch, we're going to get to see in just a few moments if they can live up to that confidence that they have.
And this is an excellent map, again, to take that litmus test of both of these two teams. Nambani, treacherous. Plenty of pitfalls for the unwary, especially on the attacking side here. We know that Envious, obviously where Taimu hails from as a team, was exceptionally good at this particular map as well. And very interesting where we'd actually see, you know, Taimu play that somber a little bit here as well, and Harry would play other things. So this should be a map that everyone's fairly comfortable with. The Finnish roster, outside of the World Cup, have not been performing to their potential in recent times. They've been a bit of a slump in terms of Europe here, but against Vietnam, Finland at least able to do some research on this team.
They were, and one interesting thing about Finland, whether or not they break it out here or not, but it is looking like they might, is that they're one of the few teams that might be comfortable in bringing out a triple tank setup, where most teams, when we talked to them, they said, we're just going to stick with dive. We think that's the way to go. No, Finland, if you want a person who really loves himself some Reinhardt, you have to look no further than Fraggy, where that man loves his Rein.
I would say best Reinhardt player in the West, and unfortunately it's not something that really gets to be showcased too much, but I am told Finland have been looking and driving towards situations where they can actually use Reinhardt in a constructive manner. This might be that kind of map here.
Well, we thought it might be... Wait. They're teasing us right now. They know that they're playing with our hearts, but the doors have opened. Fraggy is still on that Reinhardt, and Mitch, everyone's favorite burly German man, he's making an appearance.
I mean, Fraggy almost made me look the fool, but it is going to be Reinhardt on the attacking side for Finland. This is very non-standard. I want to see how they try and work around it. Right now, they're just knocking on the front door. You can see Fraggy trying to facilitate the rest of his team to push forward onto the point and at least start contesting.
There's not a lot of subtlety here to this Finland offense. They are going straight up the gut, and they're going to Vietnam. Fight us here on the point. They do get pushed back a little bit, but you take a look at the poke where they're winning it heavily, and Simple will fall early on. Finland picking apart Vietnam here, and they still have 5 people up, Mitch, but they are very weakened.
Finland are about as subtle as Reinhardt's hammer on this push right now, but it's working for them. Zopev gets a pick off on towards Maverick here, and Finland, slowly but surely, are able to make their way up onto this point. A couple picks has forced Vietnam back to try and recuperate, but they're running out of time.
They're running out of time, and Mitch, the other great thing about this Reinhardt strategy is that if you haven't played against a Reinhardt in a long time, your response might not be what it should be. Yes, dive can do very well against Reinhardt compositions, but only if you have practice going against it. At some point, teams might forget, wait, what do we do against this? Thus far, Finland has caught Vietnam a little bit off guard.
Mr. Hitter has a lot of work to do on the side of Vietnam here to try and neutralize this Reinhardt. Get in there with the pulse bomb and even try and get some splash damage onto everyone else around him. It's going to be the Dragon Blade coming in from Maria, but he gets cut down immediately. Linksa responds in kind. His blade's just a little bit keener.
His blade sharper, stronger, whatever you want to call it. Gets the Genji on Genji kill, and what we're seeing here from Finland is dominance. No one really going that low. The supports are playing well, and what has been more of a death ball as they get every kill that they need here, Uber, just rolling along and tossing Vietnam to the side.
The first point, Vietnam almost looked like they gave it up out of respect. They didn't get wiped. They had 4 players up and they opted to step off. This time, they weren't given that option. Finland closed the gap and they managed to get some decisive finishes on the fight. There's a Earth Shatter coming around. Attack visor. Finland are snowballing.
And they've already taken down the Tracer early on. Fraggy feels empowered to going deeper. Doesn't have to worry about the pulse bomb to his back. Finland controlling space in a dominant fashion. And right now, here comes the barrier out from Vietnam. They're going to push in. That's going to trigger the visor here from Taimu.
Finland controlling space. Mr. Hip needs to control time with his Tracer. The pulse bomb needs to connect, but he wasn't there in the fight. He got taken so low. It's a late pulse bomb. It finds Linksa, but it's not going to cut the mustard here. Finland are up in numbers. Mr. Hip finds a second, but he had to step off the point. And for try as they might, Vietnam with aggression late in the fight still need to give the payload up, and that's 2 checkpoints down for the Finns.
Well, if there's any cutting going on right now, it is Finland, Mitch, cutting through Vietnam with ease. This has been devastating. However, let's never forget that for Nambani, last point defenses can be the most solid. We've seen teams get to this point with this much time before, Mitch, and get stalled out. So if Vietnam's going to have a comeback here, it will begin now.
Linksa off towards the side. He wants his next Dragon Blade as soon as he possibly can. K-Terry goes in. It's for a self-destruct though, so it was very much a feigned attempt at getting in the face of Finland. No one is claimed by the explosion, and he's forced to back away behind the defense mages, but Linksa's ready to go. It's the Dragon Blade out. Simple falls off in the periphery, and Linksa's being pressured heavily. Bionic Grenade gets dropped on him, but he gets 1 before he goes down, and that'll do the job for now.
The damage was done by Linksa. That's enough to let Finland move even forward. Get the payload into a point where the defense doesn't have as much of an advantage. And now you take a look at Zappos here, Mitch. The self-destruct is at the ready. He can just whop this over the top as Vietnam reinforces if Finland wants to stay in. But what they're doing now, they're disengaging a bit and they're waiting for a full 6.
We have a full switch up here as well. Mr. Hip is actually going over towards a 76, and Maria's playing the Tracer. So the real Genji is just not getting the job done for them. Big ultimates here. Transcendence for Zoppe as well. That's a nice Bionic Grenade. He's going to force back a little bit Taimu as he tries to get some distance, but you can see Fraggy gets so much ultra percent by coming forward, swinging the hammer. The Earth Shatter's coming soon.
Earth Shatter's coming soon. Zoppe is really looking to get away. He got away with no HP, but there's the Shatter. It's a beauty. Setting up Taimu, rolling to the back. 4 uncontested kills here from Finland. It is a clean sweep, and the Finns are going to push that payload right in.
And perhaps, just maybe, the era of Reinhardt not yet over, especially in the hands of the prodigious ability, of course, of Fraggy. Nicely done by him as well. And you can see, I feel like, CP, that Reinhardt's actually okay into Winston Diva. As long as you can mitigate the threat of Tracer, you can get a lot of damage done. Particularly
when, again, teams aren't used to playing it. And Mitch, I gotta say, when was the last time you saw Taimu looking that happy?
Well, yeah. I mean, a little while. It depends. Sometimes on his stream, you know, he gets a little bit chirpy. But, I mean, he's really happy to be here. Everyone is as well. I saw Lynx was just saying the other day that he's having an absolute blast here. And, of course, us Australians are very honoured to be able to host a competition of this standard as well. But for Vietnam now, the writing's on the wall. They've now seen exactly what Finland are going to bring to bear against them, and they need to try and emulate that kind of aggression, or at least that kind of speed through the map. There's a huge time bank available for the Finns.
It's a very big time bank available, and I think the more troubling part here for Vietnam is the part where they weren't able to put up a good defense on last. Look, it's Nambani. We see teams blaze through points A and B rather quickly, but getting onto the final point is where you see teams really build up a lot of their time, and Vietnam wasn't able to mount much of a defense even on last. And to me, that's most troubling going in here because they're going to have to do the same to Finland in turn as they go in on their attack.
And recently we've seen a little bit less Genji being played actually in these dive compositions. Now, for Emre, he's actually a bit of a Genji aficionado himself. He likes to play that. I'm happy to see that on the attack on this first point here. You can do a heck of a lot with the verticality, the nature of the, I guess, the topography of this particular zone. Can be very effective, but again, there needs to be a good degree of synergy here. He's not going to be getting nano boosts if there's not a nano here, which is, you know, generally the case. So he needs to sort of get the job done with a Dragon Blade without any extra help here. Finland, though, of course, up on that higher ground. He links her now on Tracer duty.
I gotta love Taimu's composure here. It's really just crouching Taimu, hidden soldier. He is not moving. He is just looking down the alleyway, waiting for his prey.
That's brilliant. Well, Linksa gets chucked down quite low early on there. He's forced to recall out, and now the door is open. Vietnam are going to make their way forward. Firstly, a bit of a cautious glance around the point. See where Finland is set up here, trying to make sure they don't get dropped on top of here, but they're making progress.
they're going right up the gut in the same way that Finland was. They don't have a Reinhardt shield backing up. Instead, they're looking for their opportunity to dive to the back line, but Finland's doing a great job of dealing with this pressure. They back up a little bit, do their own counter poke, and Vietnam gets stalled out a bit. All the while, still trying to move on to the point.
It's going to be hard for Emre to find single isolated targets on the side of Finland here. They're set up in 2 groups on either side of this main road up on the high ground. It can be frustrating to deal with if you're not going to dive. Vietnam are playing this really, really slow, but they seem to have found a target off in their distance here. They're going to chase it down. But now Mr. Hip needs to control this point. It was Funky who ultimately found Frankie, but it's traded back. Both Winstons are down.
This isn't too bad right now. Mr. Hip has had a lot of room to deal with, but already the Dragon Blade coming out from Emre, but it's a little bit of a rough time as he just gets dunked on by Zappis. Did not have the target selection he was looking for. And Finland, they bend, but they do not break.
Absolutely, like a sapling in the breeze, EP. Just snap back in the face of Vietnam and send them to their spawn in short shrift. Transcendence, as you saw there, is available for Funky. Mr. Hip also has his tactical visor available. Zappis needs to be dealt with, though, and Fraggy's also been quite the nuisance here. Finland have so many damage threats, even outside of their DPS players, that Vietnam need to be very judicial in terms of who they target down first. They need to focus well.
And I would say, if you look at the focus there in the last point, oh no, time move from downtown, taking down Funky early on. And now for Vietnam, they just got to back out a bit. If they go in deeper, they're doing it at a disadvantage, and you don't really want that in this situation as Mr. Hip lucky to leave that with his life.
Finland are still running 2 tanks, and without the presence of the Discord or Maverick, it's literally a death sentence for him to try and charge up on that high ground. He was already mid-air by the time Funky had dropped. He had to get the heck out of dodge because it just wasn't going to be enough damage there to deal with this tank line of Finland. Fraggy and Zappis are controlling this high ground with authority.
They're doing very well. But Vietnam, there is a method to their madness here strategy-wise. It's been fan camp support ultimates, and now they go. The sound barrier out here for Vietnam. But it's going to cause a sound barrier here from Finland, and Finland gets the better of the trade. The Transcendence is out for Vietnam, but it's done after they lose a player. So Finland taking good control of this fight here so far.
Beautiful work. Zappis was the one to shut down Mr. Hip there. Instead of actually preventing the damage coming from the tac visor, he opted to go for damage himself on that Soldier 76. He wasn't going to defend his team, no. He was going to get the kill for himself, and it worked out. Finland didn't get crushed by that at all. Zappis blocked with his body. He didn't need the defense matrix.
No, he didn't, and now here's the real trouble here for Vietnam. That was their window. There's only 1:20 left on the clock, and their support ultimates donezo. They're not a factor anymore, and they're going to have to push through a Finland team that has a big advantage.
1 tick is what Vietnam managed to accrue on the point, and there's 1 minute remaining here. Not looking good so far. You can see that KJ's a long way ahead of the rest of his team, and Simple was left out to dry in the pole spot. Dealt with him pretty comfortably. Timer now wants to pressure down Maverick, but he's inside the bubble. Still, the big monkey decides to get the heck out of this situation.
You can't lose your Zen that early. Not only are you losing on the healing, you're losing the ability to give your offense the power they need to get pickoffs. Finland, basically untouched, not poked down much at all there, dispatching Vietnam, and we are down to the final 40 seconds here, Mitch. If Vietnam is going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, they're going to have to find a way to be magicians on this next point.
This is not looking good at all for Vietnam. They've got a self-destruct here, but in and of itself, that's not an overly impactful ultimate to bring into this fight. The rest of Vietnam are struggling to get those percentages up, and now it is go time. Zappis on the low ground here again, trying to keep his carries alive up on that high ground, and Timer got himself a nano boost there. No tech visor yet, but he can get one if he needs it with a bit more damage.
Well, Timu's aim right now, holding up in the back line, getting the kills needed, but Vietnam perhaps getting a few kills here. I just don't know if it's enough to really crack it through. The tanks of Finland still controlling space, and finally, the visor does come out. Timu with the last little bit of cleanup, and that will be a decisive hold coming up from Finland to open up the series 1-0 over Vietnam.
And a beautiful situation there of one ultimate feeding another. On the high ground, Timer was given the nano boost to work with. Didn't have a tactical visor, but with the extra damage from the nano boost, he was able to quickly accrue that ultimate. And it's almost as if there were 2 spaces of time where that Soldier 76 was extra deadly. Once he hit the low ground, tac visor was there. And that self-destruct that I said in and of itself may not have made a big difference. The kill was there. The problem for Vietnam was it was just too few and far between. Finland looking exceedingly comfortable.
They were, and there is an opportunity cost to opening up with that self-destruct where should you open up with it but don't get pressure on the soldier, well, the soldier can counter-fire back in, and that's what we saw from Time.
And you're also vulnerable while your mech is up in the air. We've seen a lot of divas, when they're in pilot form, get cut down before they can resuit, because you can only resuit as a diva once the self-destruct has expired, or it actually has acted.
All right, well, speaking of great plays, we're going to go to a replay from that last game just to take a look at some of the highlights that we saw there on that Nambani defense.
I mean, here was a few situations here, of course. I mean, Timer had so much room to work. the Earth Shatter really set that up for him there as well. We talked about Fraggy gets so much ultimate percentage purely from just swinging the hammer into Divas and Winstons. And Winston, of course, can't really, get away from that if his jumps on cooldown. He actually wants to be down there. So Reinhardt can be a good answer to that, providing that you can keep his flanks protected by a Tracer or something similar. And it seems as if Vietnam didn't really have the freedom to actually be able to extend as far as to pick off that Reinhardt.
No, certainly not. And if you go back to looking at the glory days of the NIP roster, of which many are now on this Finland team, they played very well against Reinhardt. They know how deep Fraggy would go, and they gave him the proper support.
The second map coming up will be Ilios, one we really don't see very often, but this is Vietnam's favorite map. They prefer to play on control, and of course now the lovely scenes is what will be greeting us here on Ilios. It'll be a best of 3, so maximum of 3 stages we will be seeing here, and a chance for the Vietnamese to really stamp their authority on a map that is very much like home for them.
Ilios. It's been a little while since I've casted a whole bunch of Ilios, but is a beautiful map. And for me, Mitch, what I always look forward to on this map is the part where Ruins on Ilios, one of the most unique control points in the entire game, where you can see a Widowmaker, something you don't see on most of the other control maps in the game.
Great point you brought up here, and on the side of Finland there are 2 very capable Widowmaker players. Linksa was one of the OGs of Widowmaker. Back when he was playing for Creation Esports in Europe, he really brought that to the fore, and we know that Taimu has good aim. Widowmaker definitely going to be coming important there. I expect Taimu to actually be playing that. I think Linksa will mostly be put on that Tracer duty, but here, of course, into Well, less common to see that Widowmaker there, but of course with the big pit, the Well, in the middle of the map, environmental kills are a big possibility. We might be able to even see the Lucios in Kinnel and Simple step up.
Oh, of course. And of course, Lucio recently buffed in the game where he has more knockback on those boops. So even when you think you might be safe around the corners, the Well is always waiting to welcome you into its abyss.
It'll be interesting to see here if Vietnam do actually want to play in with the Anno. Perhaps they want to give Emery a little bit more power when it comes to the Dragon Blade. We do see nowadays mostly Winstons are the ones that receive the Nano boost in general. We'll see if that's going to be the plan for them here. They definitely do need an ace in the sleeve or something just to try and break Finland, because they've had an ironclad grip, defensively speaking, so far in this series.
The key thing for Finland is that not only have they had better ult economy, but mechanically, they've been reliably winning every poke war that they take with Vietnam. Vietnam is not able to get an early pickoff to put things in their favor. Just in a word, Mitch, they've been overpowered.
I mean, that ultimate economy you brought up is definitely a factor on maps like Control when you have multiple consecutive fights over the same point where the topography is not so important as is what teams are bringing in terms of those abilities. So we'll see how it comes. Again, Vietnam opt to really not even step onto the point at this stage here. Mr. Hip got pressured down, so Linksa are almost on his own, kept 6 men at bay by getting damage onto the opposition Tracer.
He not only kept 6 men at bay, he also took one of them with him and didn't die in the process. So it's a very good opening from Linksa, who maybe not... Tracer might not be what he is usually on, but he's a very adaptive player, and it's working out well here for Finland thus far.
Oh, that's pretty cool. He could have had something big there. He gets slipped. Nice job with the sleep dart from Funky there. Linksa had a big opportunity to really take down the supports. He has said that he feels his Tracer's a little bit hit and miss so far, and that was definitely a miss for him now as Vietnam have that man advantage to try and pressure control at this point.
Well, we do have Vietnam coming right back in. They do have a tick here on the point. They're looking for more, but Finland punishing them as they dive deeper. They're able to deal with the Winston Tracer, who are looking for more kills, and that's going to let Finland turn this back around and keep control of the point. So it was a nice strike by Vietnam, but they dive a little bit too deep, Mitch, and they pay the price.
And our first wave of ultimate abilities has come online in this round. Emery was very low there. I believe he just got naded by Funky, or got a health pack to keep himself back alive. So self-destruct's there. Nano boost is there. Funky might be waiting to use that on Emery. Remains to be seen. But that's the pulse bomb, quite frivolously used there by Linksa to try and get an early kill. He doesn't find it, but his opposition does. Mr. Hip finds timing.
Linksa are taking a lot of naps here in this game so far, but here comes Fraggy. Primal Rage out. Gonna be at the same time as a Dragon Blade from Vietnam, so a lot of disruption here to both sides. Fraggy just chasing down whatever he can here in this situation, but Finland, in the chaos, they're the ones who are thriving right now. They get the key kills that they need, and they're slowly pushing Vietnam off of this point.
And Emery has not been able to have much of an impact at all in this round so far. The Dragon Blade was already used, and as far as we can tell, it was to little or no avail. A sound barrier, at least here for Simple, is going to help Vietnam weather some of the storm in its neck, but Finland have some excellent ultimates here in that tactical visor, and of course a self-destruct for a bit of zoning if required. Lynx is in position as well to harass from the side, and now Vietnam going to open up with their sound barrier.
They open up the barrier. This is a fight they really need to win in terms of a window to pull this one back, but the barrier is faded. They're already getting poked out. Gary out of this fight, or Jerry out of the fight here immediately. Linkser darting around the back, going to deal with Funky, and this is looking very good right now for Finland, where they played around that sound barrier very well here, Mitch.
Yeah, Finland now, the pleasantries are over. They gave a respectful distance to Vietnam at the start of the fight, but then Linksa decided it was time to come forward. Zappa's had a big impact there as well. That last little boot finish off on Mr. Hip. And it's 96%. There might not even be a chance for Vietnam to even get to this point. They do. In desperation, they throw K-Jerry after the point. There's a bubble down for the Winston, and Linksa has a pulse bomb.
We're in overtime right now. Linksa, special delivery right to the back. Maverick out of the fight immediately. And Finland operating on all cylinders right now. 6-4 in this final fight. And Vietnam, how much do they have left in the tank here, Mitch, as they desperately try to delay?
Not a lot. I'll give you the big tip. K-Jerry gets desuited and dealt with very quickly. Funky off towards the side on the Anna, who's been getting harassed all round out by Linksa. And that's going to be it. It's 100-0 for Finland. And they are looking very comfortable. And they're not reinventing the wheel, ZP. It's pretty straightforward play from them. See, Linksa is mostly put on support duty. He's really trying to shut down that right side of the well and try to limit the impact of the Anna for Vietnam. And we haven't seen much of Emery on that Genji. We really want to see him start to make that impact with the blade. Or you can switch off to a Tracer 76, and you can see that's what Finland have been doing, and it's been working.
Well, the reason why it's been working is that Linksa has been this wall of oppression into the back, continually distracting, gumming up the works for Vietnam as they try and move in. And then what happens when they finally do get through Linksa? Sometimes they're down a player, but no matter what, they're diving into Taimu, who is laying down all sorts of damage into the back line. They have to get through the tank line of Fraggy. It's very difficult for Vietnam right now because they have to get through all these great obstacles that Finland is putting in their way.
What's one thing you want to see from Vietnam in this round to recover?
One thing I want to see here, honestly, this is a little bit off the cuff, but seeing a Farah here on this stage of Ilios would be great just to get things off guard, and you can take refuge on the coastline. It can make it very difficult even for McCree.
Here's the 6-gun shooter, though, just as you spoke about it. Taimu's going for that McCree here, definitely feeling comfortable. Now, if Vietnam give him space, it's going to be absolute devastating. Now, the Factory gets thrown to the ground there, but still Taimu's taken down by Mr. Hip, getting up close. K-Jerry also able to get in the face of those supports here. Vietnam playing in a man advantage.
Well, Mitch, you outlined the victory conditions there for Finland, which is that Vietnam need to give Taimu space. They gave Taimu no space. They dove right in on him, took him out immediately, and that's how you need to deal with the McCree. And look at this from Finland. Because of the pressure that went on Taimu immediately, they are already done with McCree. They're coming out with the soldier instead.
Yeah, so Vietnam have passed that test. Finland have thrown a McCree in there, and Vietnam have responded correctly. That's the correct answer. To get aggressive, to throw the Genji in. Taimu now showing a little bit more respect, switching over towards a soldier 76, and Vietnam hold the point early on. We're going to see Finland work around this right side and make their way across the transition MCP.
We are, and one thing to note here, Embrier having a much better game here in the Genji. You talked about needing to see more from him. Well, so far, 90% ult charge for this fight. Vietnam can now come in with the barrier blade if they want. They're going to drop the beat, and here we go.
You see Taimu's been completely zoned away by this Dragon Blade here. What can Embrier find? So far, he found Zuppe. Taimu was forced to abscond off towards the side and get himself a little bit of help, but in the meantime, his team has been cut to pieces. He will need to get the heck out now, try and get back into that spawn and heal up, and it looks like he's been given that space by Mr. Hip, but a far better opening for Vietnam.
Vietnam, they were able to catch Finland off guard in the first fight, and they're not really letting Finland even get to the point. They keep engaging right now where about Taimu is now. They don't let Finland get to the open area. But as I say that, they were a little bit wounded recovering from that last fight. They do give up more space, and it might come back to bite them as Finland works their way in.
This is an opening here. Embrier went so low after taking the damage from Taimu now. It looks like Finland want to start the fight heading over towards the point. It's going to be a self-destruct to initiate. There's a Transcendence there for Zuppe if required. Vietnam definitely forced back the fear of God, of course, in them after that ult came down. They're going to respond with a Transcendence, and it's safe to say they got baited out fairly comfortably here. Vietnam need to capitalize on it, but right now they're unable to. And Zuppe responds with his own, and the damage from Finland is finally there.
Zuppe was deep in the back, but he comes back to his team afterwards with the Transcendence. Keeps them alive when Vietnam was trying to counter dive. And Finland playing this much cleaner right now. They just need a few more kills here, Mitch, to take control of this point. But man, this has been a much better round here for Vietnam so far, and they've made their task for bringing this back far easier.
Interesting there, Maverick actually left his team high and dry. I think he jumped off the point there and he left the supports on their own. And right now it is just a clean-up effect. But Vietnam have stalled the point out nicely. They've got to 99% here. It's definitely not going to be the whitewash it was earlier on. And one more fight, and Vietnam will have the round. Finland got a lot of work to do. They need to hold this for the rest of this round.
Finland not only needs to hold this, they have to be careful on their ultimate economy, because Vietnam, this is a case where you're in the lead. You can stockpile ultimates for one big push. Finland has to be judicious in how they handle this from here on out. where maybe you use the sound barrier here, but you leave the rest. Taimu under pressure, into the backline, he's gone. Can't use attack visor, and it's a nice engage from Vietnam.
Yeah, they've got the sound barrier to back this one up now. They need to get the damage to stick. In Finland, all of a sudden, they're realizing they may have made a mistake. Transcendence in. Frankie also has the primal rage if he needs it, but they're going to just save these ultimates and try and go through one at a time, but it may not matter. Pulse Bomb doesn't quite connect. It does at least get the D-suit on towards Zappas now. The Mini Diva running around the point, but he's there with the self-destruct. Emryo gets cut down. Linkser has the Pulse Bomb as well to add to the mix.
Blessing in disguise there for Finland. Mentioned the reason is that, yes, Taimu might have gotten picked off early, but because he died early, he couldn't bring out the visor. What does that mean? Coming back into the next fight, he's still going to have the visor, so Vietnam and the buffer that they had, it's slowly eroding as Finland starts to bring this one back.
Yeah, but at least they can put Finland in a position where Finland have to use their ultimates. It's a lot easier to force the ultimate economy in your favor when you have such a big lead. But Vietnam need to exacerbate that now. They need to generate their own ultimate advantage, or at least use them more cleverly here and get some kills on Finland. Really, at this point, it's just DM. They've got to go in, just win one fight, and they should have this one in the bag.
Right now, I think Vietnam is going to go in to win it right now. They use the Primal Rage, and they follow up with Transcendence about as deeply diving as you can be. Meanwhile, on the back, Taimu with the tac visor, looking for targets and is able to gun down Maverick. The focus fire is there, but they get on the point!
Overtime ticking down now as well. Taimu needs to get over towards the point. He got booted back and the kills are going in favor of Vietnam. Now Taimu needs to get the heck out. Overtime's ticking down. Zope gets on towards the point. Fraggy's also there, benefiting from the healing of Transcendence. That's going to keep him alive for quite some time. However, Emryo finds Taimu. The biggest damage source for Finland is now no longer present on the point. It's just Fraggy trying to hold on. So much damage being thrown in his direction, and he can only survive so long. Forced to jump off the point. Now that overtime bar is ticking down, and that's it. Vietnam making one apiece here on Ilios. It is indeed their favourite map. And they managed to get one over the Finns here now to come down to the final stage.
They were intimidating with that push where they went all in with the Transcendence and Primal Rage, and Finland, instinctively, they back out, but they back out far too much. They give up control of the point, and how does that affect the rest of the fight, Uber? Because you see them diving back in to try to get back on there. So Finland's positioning was basically ruined after they went a little bit too far back because they were in overtime. They had to then keep people on the point no matter what.
We saw from Taimu's perspective, after the point did get flipped back in the favour of Vietnam, he was zoned out from the fight. I believe it was actually a boot backwards from Simple to keep him over towards that spar area off towards the side. They very much got split apart. But here it is, ZP. Final stage, ruins. We talked about Widowmaker, and Taimu's not one to disappoint.
No, definitely not. Of course, now we've said that, we have caster cursed him and he will miss every shot. Hopefully not. Taimu, please, let's see some exciting Widow action. We don't see it too often on Control, but we do see it here.
Again, Taimu wants to get some high ground eventually here as well. He's fairly safe right now. He doesn't need to go up on high if he's not being pressured. Mr. Hip needs to be on top of him. So does Emryo, but the Laffy just got poked down, and that's brilliant. Taimu just meets Mr. Hip with a shot towards the face and a goodbye. Back to the pavilion, son.
That is something that Taimu is so good at, his flick aim, and just starting from one area of the screen to another to take down your Tracers, to take down your Genjis. He is excellent at it, and though he doesn't get the opportunities to play Widow as much as he might like, he is very good playing it here.
The impact cannot be denied, and now Finland need to maintain control here. Taimu would like to play more forward, but he still needs protection. He still needs space created for him to do his dastardly work. Oh, that would have been dirty.
The close range Widowmaker, new meta here from Taimu. Not quite going to get the Tracer that time, but now he's backing up. More space created. And while this is going on, the rest of Finland is making that space, deep diving in.
Yeah, I mean, Emryo should have this one in the bag here. Taimu going to fall down, but it's a big commitment to getting rid of what target? No, the Poison Mine is going to find Maverick there as well. He drops down to that, so Taimu's still having an impact on the battlefield when he's not even there.
Don't see Widow Mine kills very often. That is one of the rarest kills in Overwatch, but it did happen that time. But here comes Mr. Hip, going through the backline, dealing with both tanks. Fraggy out, Zapniski met, and this gives a lot of an opening here for Vietnam.
And Linkser needs to find one of his own here.
Yeah, Linkser looking for it, going in. But meanwhile, Emryo able to get the time move, and that's going to let Vietnam retake the point.
Transcendence over in this fight here. Linkser just needs to get the heck away. Would hope to pick up this health pack, but he's being pressured very closely. He dashes onto it to ensure that he stays alive in this fight. And Vietnam can now start accruing some percentage on this point. As a Transcendence just around a corner for Funky. And K-Jerry, of course, a self-destruct here. But go down a treat.
This isn't a map where you can get good self-destructs too, because it's a little bit misleading because of the pillars where you can't be sneaky. Recon sight is up though in Finland. Gonna use that extra data to dive right in.
Taimu again sitting up on this low ground here, trying to, you can still pick targets off inside the Transcendence if he hits a headshot on a 200 HP or less hero, but right now he's gonna pick one in his face. How did he find that? Maverick drops down in front and his head is just skewed asunder. Now Taimu can find another one on Emryo. Give this man an inch and he'll take a damn mile.
Hide your heads, get your hats. Taimu is looking for your dome. This has been some great widow play out of Taimu and a real thorn in the side of Vietnam.
So much damage available from him there. Simple goes down with his sound barrier. That does not bode well for Vietnam. However, it took all fight for Finland to take this point back. Vietnam were able to accrue valuable percentage, even in a losing fight, to make it almost even Stevens at the flip.
Here's the thing, though, for Finland, is that on runes in particular, once you hold the point, it is rather good for the defense, especially when you can have a Widowmaker. Here in the back, plenty of sightlines open where he can end the push with one good shot before Vietnam can even set up. So Vietnam has to run the obstacle course, and oh my God! Goodbye, Genji. You thought you were a counter? Guess again.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's ungodly. It's ridiculous. Taimu able to get a pick off on a key target as well. One of the biggest threats to himself is Emery-A, and if he can get him across the map like that, there is not a thing the Vietnamese Genji can do about it.
And here's the thing, too, for stalling out. He's going to be able to recon side as Vietnam comes in. That's not only good for Taimu, that's good for the rest of his team. There will be no subtlety here with Vietnam. Everything is in their sights. Oh, my word!
I can't do it anymore. Taimu, what are you doing to my heart, son? More damage to come through. Mr. Hip just got completely headshot out in Vietnam. There is no response on this planet you could have to a man like this doing what he is. He's on fire, of course, and that is going to be the round done. The Widowmaker pocket pick comes out, and we can see that everyone is enjoying a bit of that.
Oh, Taimu. This brings me back. If you think back to when Taimu first made his fame in Overwatch, going back to the beta days, he did it on Widowmaker. He was a ridiculous Widowmaker. And I just feel like I've gone back in time a little bit after watching that phenomenal display.
Absolutely filthy. Look, Australian broadcasting laws are pretty strict. I'm surprised it's even allowed to be on television. But that is all. It is now half-time, and we're going to throw it to a break, ladies and gentlemen, to catch our breaths. Perhaps you can do the same, and when we return, we'll have our friends over at the desk break down what just transpired in front of our very eyes.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by Omen by HP, T-Mobile, and Blizzard Entertainment.
All that grows must also wither and die. What dies and rots will then nourish the living. This is the great cycle of being. And we, the priests of Rathma, use our dark art to protect it. Though most do not understand us, we go where we are needed. My master has learned that a star fell in the west, drawing the dead from their graves. He commands me to journey to Tristram and return them to their rest. For if the cycle is not upheld, it would mean the end of all things.
Beauty. That's literally the only thing I can think of. That was absolutely amazing. I got a bit nervous for a second there when Taimu was like, you know, I'm gonna pull a McCree. I'm very glad he didn't do it for too long. Got focused on right away, and that Widowmaker was just absolutely fantastic. But I do want to talk about the first map.
Let me just say they have families, you know.
They do.
You gotta, like, you know, let's just take care of them while they're here in Australia. That just was. That was brutal. Go ahead, Soya.
It was. But I want to talk about Numbani. I did mention that Finland still likes to run that Reinhardt, and that worked out really, really well for them. So I'm very happy we got to see it on stage there.
Yeah, between Linkster playing the Genji and Fraggy on the Reinhardt, it was something that a lot of teams don't run. Generally, you see the Winston, you see the Tracer. You never see Reinhardt Genji as a combo. And for them to be able to execute that is really scary because nobody's seen that before. I don't think anybody's practiced against it. And for them to be able to bring it out at the end, or just in general ever, it's new. You know, you're not used to it. You get earth shattered now. You could tell that Vietnam didn't know what to do against it. And that is in itself, just being able to bring out new strategies to a tournament like this is huge for just your motivation, just getting the crowd behind you. The Widowmaker, obviously, getting everyone hyped in this room, and this Finnish squad. Yeah,
I was a bit worried, you know, like going into this whole tournament, because Finland, the guys from NIP, they loved triple tank. They were really, really big in that meta and the dive meta. I was just not sure, is that going to be a fit for them? Are they comfortable with it? But works with the Reinhardt, so.
Dare I say that was some of the best gameplay we've seen from Taimu, but you want to know what else is the best? T-Mobile. That's right, people. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Big thank you to them. They're a partner of the Overwatch World Cup for 2017. Hashtag segue. Okay, so let's recoup ourselves here. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at some highlights, because we had some crazy moments in that game.
Is this going to be a Taimu showreel?
It probably will be. I mean,
is.
honestly, like, he started off with the 76, and he was never bothered in the back line. And James, I'm going to say that is something that Vietnam needs to address moving into this next one. They can't allow Taimu to have free reign back there.
We definitely saw some adjustments coming out from them, particularly on Lighthouse over on Ilios, where they did try to go more into the back line, focus him down when he was on that McCree, less mobile. They were able to focus him down. But yeah, he has become an issue. But regardless of the pressure that Team Finland have been applying onto Vietnam, I think Funky's been doing a great job of actually keeping his head on straight. We saw as Linkser was getting into the back line, when Funky was on that Ana, he kept landing those sleep darts, and Linkser was playing a little bit more reserved because of it.
Yeah, but then, you know, the sheer power of this Finnish roster, Flame, is something that I don't think Vietnam was expecting, and certainly is not something that they probably fared against in their home country when they were preparing for this tournament.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not worried about Timo, you're worried about Linkser. Linkser, in particular, I think was having a really good game. We saw at the beginning Timo's Widow was hitting body shots, not so much popping off like in these clips.
Dear God.
But there was a huge stream of space where I think Linkser was just carrying his weight back and forth. I don't know. Just watching that clip hurt me in particular. I'm sitting there listening to dinks, dink, dink, and that was the entire stage on Ilios.
Yeah.
But it's a double threat. You know, you have to worry about Linkser on the Genji, on the Tracer. You have to worry about Timo on whatever he wants to play, to be honest with you, because he's just putting out way more damage than I think anybody was expecting, especially the Vietnam squad.
And also, he stayed on the Widow like the entire time. There was just zero fear from it. You can't do that on Ruin, so you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Widow is just it changes the way everyone has to position themselves. Even if the Widow is really far away, you always have that threat. You always have that thought in your head, like there is a Widow somewhere, and it changes the whole game.
Yeah.
So just the thought, the idea of the threat of a Widow changes everything.
Now, children, if you're playing on quick play, okay, don't think that you could just go out there and do this, because I'm not going to like you very much. Okay, I'm just going to be very honest with you. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the match results of you guys. All right. Hey, Australia, you really like me.
You saved the servers.
Or you know, yeah. So, Vietnam versus Finland. Finland up 2-0 right now. Can Vietnam answer back? It's going to be the question going into game number 3. But for Finland, they are looking for a dominant 4-0 victory. But if you missed those matches earlier, by the way, what were you thinking? Australia versus Italy, 4-0 to start things off here, and it was raucous in the house. People were going absolutely bananas. You hear them already. I'm just talking about Australia, and they're talking, and they're wooing, and a bunch of woo girls in here. It's awesome. And then we had Sweden versus Portugal. Another great matchup, 2-2. Definitely one that you want to check out in the VODs. Incredible stuff indeed. But we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to determine and talk about what we might be seeing in game number 3 and beyond. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by Omen by HP, T-Mobile, and Blizzard Entertainment.
Always remember that power is a double-edged blade. One side light, the other dark. It calls to you when you are most desperate. When victory seems worth any sacrifice. There is a price to be paid for such a gift. And many eagerly accept the bargain. The righteous and the meek may recoil at its cost. But they have no vision. Power alone is not to be feared. Fear instead those
Welcome back, everyone. This is the halftime show for Finland versus Vietnam. Finland currently up 2-0 in the count as we have 2 more matches left to play. This is the first match of Group D, and there aren't many options for Vietnam here. Flame, I think you're going to say they're going to go Volskaya, right?
We're probably going to the moon. As much as I want to see Volskaya, as much as I want to see the Linkster and or Taimu play the Widowmaker, I'm thinking we're going to go to Volskaya.
You called it. You said it.
I'm broken. We're going to Horizon, but you know, it's one of those maps where you maybe can sneak a win. That match was really one-sided. I mean, Numbani, though, they had a plan. They came in with the Genji Reinhardt. You saw them play that pretty successfully, but that was their map pick. And it did go to 3 maps on Ilios. That wasn't a clean 2-0. So anything can happen. Vietnam didn't look like they got smashed. It's just really hard to play against Zupa and Kinnel. They might actually be one of the few rosters here that does have both their supports playing from the same team. We saw Sweden before. Their supports are mix and match. And even, I mean, that's it. Like, you come in. I realize now that Vietnam actually has their support, so I kind of got tongue-tied there, but...
No, but like, you think about the caliber of the support
yes,
that this team has, and that definitely comes into play here. Vietnam certainly going to have their work cut out for them, folks. But it's going to be our next matchup coming up, and we don't know what it is quite yet, but I think we have a pretty good idea. It's going to be Horizon. Curious to hear what our commentators, ZP and Uber, think as well. Take it away, fellas.
Thank you very much, Golden Boy. I don't really want to assume anything too much here, ever. Given, of course, this is a pick from the Vietnamese team, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect Horizon to come up here. But we've already seen Volskaya today so far. I think, honestly, we've been treated to it quite a lot. We saw a lot of it over in the Korean region recently, of course, over through Apex. But again, Finland looking dominant. Just to recap what we saw from Vietnam here as well, it seems like they've got the pieces, ZP. They're just not able to put them together in the permutation they need.
Vietnam, there are flashes of brilliance here, but they ran into a freight train, and that freight train's name was Taimu. He was happy.
Terrible name for a freight train, by the way. Don't call it that.
Don't call it that, unless you're doing what Taimu's doing, where he's honking the horn, just rolling right over. Gave us a show on Widowmaker, and here's the thing is that we are heading into Assault. It is looking like it's going to be Volskaya, and you can still run a Widow even on first on Volskaya. You don't see it quite as often here, but with Taimu having that much fun just a map ago, wouldn't be surprised if he even attempted it.
You've got Timo White's CP. You just want to see Widowmaker everywhere now.
Yes.
There's a time and place for the purple French lady. This may not be it. We actually did see earlier on, if you recall, that Portugal put an excellent showing up on this map against Sweden, ostensibly a team that was looking stronger. Opportunities are aplenty for Vietnam here. It's all about making use of them after they come up. And of course, we've seen a little bit, you know, Emery has shown us some fairly solid Genji, but it seems like Genji's not really been too hot in this tournament so far. Even Swoosh struggled to make the impact for Sweden here. So perhaps something, a departure from that approach, maybe some more Tracer in there. Widowmaker, as you said, is a possibility. And might even be something on the attack, like you pointed out, that could work.
Well, we are going to be looking at the defense first coming out here from the Finland side. And this, not too much of a surprise here, Uber, as we take a look at it coming out, where you look at it, it's going to be Taimu showing us his chops, not on Widow so much, but looking like the Sombra.
Yeah, a Sombra pick here for Taimu would be pretty nice to see for Finland if they've got that one in the wheelhouse. And I mean, that was something we saw from Envious, which is Taimu's team. He, as a DPS player, actually elected to play the Sombra instead of having one of his supports do it. That meant that he had to obviously hand the DPS role over towards Harry Hook, and they managed to make it work. So Taimu likes to play a bit of Sombra. I don't think he's been heralded as the greatest Sombra player. I think, as we heard earlier on, I agree with Monty in saying that Grey is probably the West's best in that role. But again, a great map for Sombra. You've got so many health packs. You see one on the screen right now. Off towards the left, there's that mega health as well. And then you go up towards the top of the screen on the left-hand side, there is another mini health pack. So there's a lot of packs for Sombra to hack, a lot of ways to get that ult percentage and have frequent and many EMPs.
And never forget, not only do the health packs help the defense here, but they also remove it from the offense, where Emery, as he's going to be darting in and around, he's not going to be able to use those health packs.
I just want to point out that Zupe is actually playing the Soldier 76 here, so this is shades of Envious right now. I've never seen Zupe play DPS in any of these games, so this is going to be pretty spicy, but Linkser goes a little bit too far and he meets his fate at the end of a Helix rocket.
Linkser went deep diving without a parachute that time, so that's going to give Vietnam a bit of an opportunity here. However, with Taimu taking down the Zenyatta in the back, it gives Vietnam a little bit less sustain as they move forward here. It also hurts their pickoff powers, so what could have been a really aggressive dive is turning into more of a slow churn.
And that's not ideal for Vietnam, because Finland, of course, they can bring Linkser back pretty quick. He can just blink across the map and be ready to join his team. So something needs to be done here. There needs to be a decisive move made by Vietnam, either to get picks or to get positioning. They have neither right now.
They're split off right now. You see Mr. Hip on the side. Lucky that doesn't get dove on there, but he's very much split from his team. Has to run back. And Vietnam, they're not being decisive right now. They're letting Finland dictate the terms. And you take a look at Taimu, the EMP is out. and let's see how it goes.
Now, once again, he's found Funky there as well, so able to clean him off as the EMP came through. It's a very vulnerable target, that Zen. And Vietnam seem to take these single-man pickoffs very much to heart. They've slowed up their pace yet again. It's down to a snail crawl, but Emrier might be able to do something about their pulse bomb. Got stuck there. We found Fraggy, and that's going to open the fight up for Vietnam.
Vietnam right now moving their way in, looking for the opportunity. We'll see if Emrier can do a little bit more. Still darting in and about. Respawns coming in for Vietnam, and they're going to break it down. This is when you double down, moving right in, and Mr. Hit piling on, going to pick up 2. Vietnam will not be held here at first.
That's it, Vietnam. All the chips into the middle of the table, and it pays off. They hit the jackpot. They got the first point pretty comfortably, and the impact of that Sombra really was not felt. Taimu was able to get the pick on Funky after his shield got torn from him. But Finland weren't able to capitalize on the fact that Vietnam couldn't use their abilities in the direct aftermath.
Here, right now, though, Uber, is the hard part of Volskaya. Trekking across its harsh landscape into enemy territory, only to get EMP'd. How often will Taimu be able to EMP here? He has it up right now. Vietnam has to be aware of it as they push in.
Right, another situation where there's a lot of health packs available to be hacked, especially the Mega on the left side of the screen where Emrier is aiming right now. Inside this room, you can see that pack has been hacked. It's not available for him, and it's tough for flankers if there are no health packs for them to use on the attack, but that's the EMP, and straight away, of course, it's like clockwork. Funky's down, but it's traded. Zuppe also falls.
Funky right now really cursing his life for having shields as part of his health right now. Just part of being a robot, Funky. I am sorry. But Vietnam, though they get a few trade-outs here, it's not enough. Your Volskaya offense must be decisive, and right now it is anything but. Finland is in a great position, and that's why they're not even using ults here.
And Maverick now trying to get the fist towards the face of Zuppe here as well. But Zuppe stands his ground. He stands on the one field there. You've got to be careful to attack a Soldier 76 when he's sitting on his healing ability. Zuppe keeps his nerve and keeps his ultimate intact. There are 5 now for Finland in the next defense.
I respect Zuppe there, because if I was standing in a place and a Gorilla was right in front of me, zapping lightning at me, I'd be running the other way, and not anywhere near as graceful as a Soldier 76.
Definitely knows his way around it. This is one of the best parts about the World Cup. We get to see these players on roles we don't often see them on, and Zuppe is doing a great job so far. Vietnam need to draw some ultimates out of Finland here and reduce his bank, but so far they're going to start off with a self-destruct that finds no one, EMP to follow.
It doesn't find anyone, but it does force them right into the EMP and makes Taimu's job way easier. Funky falls immediately, and Zuppe cleaning up the scrap. So really, that D.Va self-destruct, that was just herding them into an area where they would be cleaned up.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a cerebral approach from Finland there to dictate the positioning of Vietnam and reduce their options of approach. As an attacking team, you want to be able to have the choice of, where you come from. If you come, from around, up above, Cotton Eye Joe, whichever one, doesn't matter. But they were stripped of that opportunity, and they're forced to walk into the blender.
They are, and now Taimu, he goes down. He dove too deep. Suddenly, Vietnam, huge opportunity. They can roll right in. The attack visor is up. 6 versus 4. Finland suddenly disappearing before our eyes. They are on the hot seat right now.
Yeah, the sheepish sound barrier out from Finland try and keep themselves through this fight, but they're running out of plays here. Primer Rage on the point for Fraggy just to try and stall out a little bit longer. It looks like he was trying to juggle. Lynx has found Funky, though. That's a big part of this team out for Vietnam. Here, no more Harmony Orbs for healing, but Zappos gets de-suited by K-Jerry now. A self-destruct over the point. Finland need to vacate, and Fraggy's not fast enough.
They're going to get one tick now, Uber, and they're looking for more. Finland, out of nowhere, suddenly disheveled. Taimu has to throw the EMP. Will they fall through? Zuppe, he's there, dashing through. Ends up falling, and though it's bloody, Finland now staunching the bleeding, and lucky for them, Mitch, it was right before that second tick.
Absolutely, it's a perfect point you bring out. As the smoke clears now, Finland realize they've only given up one section of that counter, I guess. To see kill, gotta be careful. Kill. They want to stall the D.Va without getting killed by it, ideally. This is fine, and this is a great way for Finland to buy a few extra seconds.
K-Jerry was looking for the cliff, but ends up finding Taimu instead. So that will be a full reset, but scary stuff for Finland there, where it shows the risk of a Sombra strategy. If you go out and poke and get punished, it can end badly.
One more Orb of Destruction would have claimed Taimu's life there. He was hit by a full salvo by Funky while he was invisible. So Funky just got kind of fortunate, but if Taimu got picked off there, that could have been the go signal for Vietnam.
Very well could have been, but now Finland, they get a bit of a breather. No, Taimu undersaw again, not able to get out. Funky has his number, and here we go again. Vietnam rolling right back in.
2 out of 3 DPS players are down now. Zuppe on the Genji this time, but he didn't get too far on that instance. Now we're almost over towards our second tick out of 3. It's been all Vietnam over this fight. They look like they thrive in these chaotic situations. Pulse Bomb claim Fraggy. Mr. Hip now sitting in the background. He finds Taimu as well. That's 2/3 done. Finland are in trouble.
That EMP came out for Taimu, but way too late. He just had to roll back in. Everyone from Finland is going down, and Vietnam just a little bit away from claiming this final point and giving us one heck of a Volskaya map here so far. Finland, though, coming back out. Lynx are not going down here just yet, buying a little bit of time. But will it be enough, Mitch?
Sound barrier for Vietnam, very important there. Finland are trying to stall, but they just don't quite have the bite to match their bark with the sound barrier on the opposition team. Emery has got a lot of freedom around this point now as things break down into utter chaos. And with Zupe going down again as that Genji, things might be tough. However, Vietnam have lost a couple too many players that couldn't quite put the finishing blow in, and they're going to back away again.
The timer, or the progress, 96%. It was very, very close there. Just not quite enough. But they have been shocking Finland. Part of this has come from Taimu digging too deep. I don't know if it's going to happen this time around. Taimu has the EMP. He can relax a little bit and just go for the good EMP rather than trying to charge it this time.
Now, Vietnam are lacking ultimates somewhat in this particular case. The self-destruct is there. They'd love to force Finland into an area where they can put them in a grinder as well. A little bit harder to do on this attacking side, but the Transcendence will be very important for them in this next fight. They just need to make sure they don't get pulse bombed and that EMP doesn't come out first.
You always have that mind game between Transcendence versus EMP, but the EMP takes down Fuck immediately. He is not having any spiritual enlightenment this time. Finland piling on off the EMP. They get 2 kills, and Vietnam will be thrown out with a minute left. They have about 1 good push remaining.
That's big. KJerry getting desuited there after the fight was already finished. You can't allow that to happen. Now he's forced to go over the edge. But he's not going to spawn back for another 10 or so seconds here. Oh, there we go. Finally made his way down. Of course, he's gone to freedom, okay? There's nothing gruesome about that.
No.
We set it free. Give it wings. He'll be back in just a moment.
Well, there's no guarantee that he actually died back there. There's actually a secret Diva mech underneath Full Sky. You always stash your hidden mech there in case of emergency.
But this is where they make the mechs, right? So if you just find the right access hatch and, punch in the code, get Sombra to help you out with that, you're fine.
Korea was outsourcing to Russia this entire time. That's how it works.
Pulse bomb there. Does connect on towards Maverick. He's quickly healed by standing on that Mega. And Vietnam can't afford to get picked off early on this push. This is go time for them. They've got 3 ultimates to work with. Let's hope that's enough.
We'll see if it's enough right now. The EMP comes out immediately. Membrier already out of the fight here early on. Mr. Hip has the attack visor way far away from the fight right now. Doesn't get much. Vietnam, though, still, there is hope alive. They have 5 up and around in on this fight. They can still prime the rage and delay. Even though Mr. Hip is getting drawn out, now it's getting rough. The EMP comes in, but I don't know if it's enough. Vietnam is still holding strong here.
Mr. Hip's got a lot of, a lot of distance here. He's able to keep Finland at arm's reach, and now with the sound barrier coming in here, he might need to complete some of these kills. This is his window to really get into a bit more of a brawl here. Resuit coming in though. No, Zapdos couldn't quite get resuited. KJerry's going to find him now. KJerry gets 2 more kills. He's running nuts on the point here. Lynx is trying to stay alive, and the bubbles drop there.
Whatever that new mech was that he found, it is supercharged. 3 kills here from KJerry as Vietnam trying to keep it up. He gets more. KJerry is unchained right now. The last one on the point, and he puts it over the edge. Vietnam able to get that final point when everything was on the line. And they look happy right now, Mitch.
I now know why Mecha put just Hannah Song in a mech. Put a gamer behind the controls of that death suit. That was impressive stuff by KJerry there as well. Bear in mind, if you are standing around the site of the suit recall, I believe it does damage somewhat and knock you back. So I don't actually know what happened there, but very quick kills coming out from KJerry there. Obviously with his big health pool, the addition of, you have a slight amount of burst if you hit them with your charge and then melee quickly. But that was very, I have to say, it's quite nuanced mechanical play, which is not something you often heard with Diva in the same sentence. But that's annoying for Finland.
Well, it's not just good mechanical play, it's also being in the right place at the right time. If you're not there where you need to be in a case where people are low, you're not going to be able to finish those kills. So KJerry knew where the members of Finland were fleeing from the pressure coming in from the rest of his team, got into a good position, cleaned up the kills, and was quite literally the last person standing when the dust had settled.
So we saw it on the previous map, and now here as well. Vietnam, should I say, they've poked the bear. They've shown Finland that they can, in fact, bleed. And now it's time to see if it's ice-cold blood in the veins or not for Finland as they try and keep it together. They'll be on the attack, of course. And all they need to do is essentially finish the map with a bit of time in the bank. If they have that much, then they'll have one more chance to attack after the fact to secure that last checkpoint. So we need to see Finland at least finish here. That needs to happen.
Finland, there's plenty of room here for them to get a definitive advantage. Vietnam, though they were able to finish things out, if Finland was able to get through both points with at least a minute and 1 second remaining, Vietnam actually wouldn't get another attack. So Finland has many of very juicy victory options available for them here.
Juicy.
Very juicy, like it's overflowing. Vietnam, though, if they could have a good defense, they could strip that away. So we'll see how this first fight does pan out.
And I'm very interested to get a little bit more information about how Zupe plays this Genji. I've never seen that from him. I know, of course, he doesn't just play Ana and Zen all the time, but this is a different flavor for Finland here. Normally, Linkser, I guess, is the Genji aficionado, but they need him on the Tracer.
And that's where Linkser's had the flex here for this Finland team. Tracer isn't what he usually plays, but he's a flexible dude, and they're just going right around the side here, uncontested. They get the high ground, and suddenly Mr. Hip is Mr. Dead, immediately taken down, and Finland with a quick strike here to get the point A.
Great opening here. Maverick finally jumps into the fight, but he's a little bit too late here. We see Funky just get caught up in the mix, in the rolling massive finish plays, and is taken down by just residual damage. He didn't need to be focused. It was all there. And now Zuppe, it's an easy finish up on Maverick. Finland outmaneuver Vietnam by taking the high ground away and then using it to their advantage.
Mr. Hip looked genuinely surprised there. He looks there, it's like, wait, that's your entire team. I'm gone. Well, if there is going to be a big defense here for Vietnam, it will happen on second. And even though it's 7 minutes for Finland, we have seen big defenses on Volskaya last, especially with good Sombra play. So we're going to get to see what Funky can show us here on this defense.
But see how little Simple and Mr. Hip were able to do in that last fight. Their ultimate percentage is very low. There is an EMP for Vietnam. This might be able to stem the flow, plug the dam, as it were, for now, because Finland are going to be looking for a quick finish.
They are looking for a quick finish indeed, but Vietnam, they demech Zappis, Zuppe out of the fight, and they are able to deep dive right back in. Not enough manpower left here for Finland. They are going to have to go back to the drawing board here, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, losing Fraggy there as well, their main initiation. Lixer was going to hang around. He probably wanted to charge up a pulse bar, or at least make sure he'd have it for the next fight. He didn't really see an appropriate scenario in which to use it earlier on. Zappis off the edge there, so he was probably desuited. I think that was the issue. He was in mini form, so he wanted to try and respawn back as quickly as possible. Attack fires are coming up. Pulse bomb for Finland as well. They've got a lot of those offensive ultimates to work with, and Kittle's sound barrier is not far away.
The problem here for Finland is that it can be difficult to get a good tack visor off here. The sight lines aren't as great. You're under a lot of pressure. Look, I'm not going to underestimate Taimu and his game sense, but this is still a difficult task. It's not as easy as other points.
Also, Zuppe switched off the Genji now over towards the Ana, which is what we're more used to seeing from him. Pulse bomb stick, Lixer gets it done. That's not a good start at all. Mr. Hip's going to drop down, and Lixer's got a lot of freedom to work in this case. Sound barrier now, I think attempted to be used, but Kindle gets taken down before he can hit the ground and drop the beat.
Now it's in progress here. Finland, they still have 5 up. They can't lose anyone else, and oh, they lose Zuppe towards the end. No more healing here for Finland of the high burst variety, and that should let Vietnam stabilize, and yep, Finland, they're going for the reset.
So if you could hear, you would have heard the voice line of Lucio using his ultimate, let's drop the beat. But if Kinnel isn't able to touch the ground during that animation, if he's killed before that happens, you won't get it. If he'd had that sound barrier, they wouldn't have lost Zuppe so early in the fight.
The key there, Mitch, is that Lucio's not a liar. When he says, let's drop the beat, he actually has to drop down. That is part of the animation.
And if he jumps off high ground while using his ultimate, that's a big window for enemy teams to dispatch him before he can actually hit the ultimate and proc that sound barrier.
It is. Well, right now we do see Finland setting up here once more. Zappis holding on to that self-destruct. Fraggy can certainly be a distraction in the back. And they're poking around right now, hoping that Vietnam makes a mistake. Vietnam, their EMP is charged up in range, Mitch. They can throw that out anytime. Oh no, they lose Funky. This is big.
Not a good start. He tried to get some health and get more sustainability, but time has managed to find him in the side of the room now. The sound barrier we're waiting for comes out from Kinnel. It's responded by Vietnam, but it's going to be a nano boost here for Taimu, and Linkser and Fraggy getting a lot of damage done here. Taimu doesn't have the tack visor, but he doesn't quite need it right now because he's got brilliant tracking.
He has great tracking right now. No ultimate required. Finland turning the screws right now, applying the pressure, and Vietnam. Now, how do they get back out and delay? They have no tools really to work with. They have a Tracer and perhaps a Ray of Hope, but that Ray of Hope might be going away quickly. Already 2 ticks here for the Finns.
And Zappis could just self-destruct up on the point right now. This is going to force Vietnam off. They can't contest while this is active. The bundle disappeared there for Maverick as it came down, and Linkser is able to get so much damage. He's given plenty of space and plenty of opportunities to get damage in with those pulse pistols.
This is so good right now for Finland. Vietnam on the brink. They have to get at least some kill here, but they've been able to get nada. They have been pushed back repeatedly, just throwing their bodies on the point in an attempt to delay, but finally, the corpses run out. That will be Finland, now in a prime winning position here in Volskaya.
Oh, things are very grim for Vietnam on this particular map, and we've seen a couple of different shades here from Finland. It's a bit of a trick to see Zuppe play a bit more of that damage roll, but you could see just how much of an impact he can have on his Ana, which is rather legendary in the European sense. Probably one of the only players that consistently is considered better than him is maybe Unko. But this man, very good looking man on the end there, Zuppe, showing us a bit of the Dragon Blade. I wasn't overly impressed by the Genji. I think it didn't really have the impact they were looking for, but he's not the only one to struggle to really get in as Genji today.
No, not at all. But one thing that you do see on this Finland team is that it's really worth noting that these players are veterans. They go back to the very beginnings of Overwatch across the board. So there is versatility here where even if they can't play everything at the absolute highest level, they can play it at a good enough level to flex and catch teams off guard.
Now, 4 minutes is actually what Finland has to work with on the attack here, which, if you're not aware, is how much you start with normally, right? So this is very, very good for the Finns right now. And if they go with timing on Widowmaker, I don't mind seeing that. It's a little bit harder to get those ideal sight lines if you're not popping up over the top. there are opportunities there, of course, for him to get nasty damage done.
One of the places you can go as a Widowmaker is you can trek over the ice. It's not really a difficult grapple, but it can lead to embarrassing deaths if you fall into the pit. But you can grapple over there and then sort of attack it from the side. And if Vietnam is positioning on the opposite side, they might not be there in time to punish time.
Well, we're going to get some more time in Widowmaker. This is what we wanted to see, and already take Simple down to half HP with that body shot. Again, definitely a bit of fear being struck into the hearts of Vietnam now. As Taimu, we're going to see him try to set up. You'll need protection here, and you can see the D.Va is not too far away. So Zappas is keeping an eye on things here. And you can see Simple's having a bad day at the office with Taimu. All that scrutiny is being given.
Vietnam is just hunting right now, and he is far more effective than Elmer Fudd ever was right now, and he's certainly not hunting Wabbits. And down goes Embrier. Oh my goodness, he's doing it again.
Yeah, Elmer Fudd never really shot anything, so I guess that's pretty easy to say, but then Simple just goes head first in towards a high caliber bullet given by Taimu. Eventually he gets taken down. Maverick's able to get up on the high ground and deal with him. K-Jerry though, that's a big old D-suit. Maverick now trying to use his bubble as shelter, but eventually they're going to be coming for him, and they found him, and that's going to be it. Just one tick was all it was needed for Finland there. Far faster on their attack in general in Vietnam. There's only so long you can stand up to that. It's almost inexorable pressure being applied. And when a Widow gets 2 picks like that, even when you're trying to get in her face, you know your goose is cooked.
Getting a first point hold on Volskaya, even when you have all 3 ticks, is incredibly difficult. Doing it when you have to hold off against just one is even more so. Beyond the obvious, it also means that you always have to have someone on the point. So you can't even abuse the defensive positioning that can sometimes give you a fight or two. So that final fight was really difficult for Vietnam, and they were almost in the no-win situation.
Let's have a look at some of more. In case you haven't seen enough Taimu yet, this is our play of the game, of course, and the man himself dishing out some real nasty situations during the round. I think that's the replay we've got queued up for you guys here. And again, this is a Soldier 76, and you can see here, when the fight breaks down into chaos, it's very, very easy for 76 to get a bit of freedom there. You can see he's still being harassed out by that defense matrix, but it's not enough. K-Jerry tried, but he couldn't stop this damage coming through.
Well, it was a war of 2 matrices there. He had the defensive matrix on his own team there and helping him out. So really, Taimu was getting protected by his own team. Plenty of space and plenty of targets to shoot at on the other side.
Let's talk about K-Jerry on that D.Va as well. He was the only reason, pretty much, that Vietnam, okay, the sole reason, one of the main ones, that Vietnam managed to actually capture that second point there. Hard to really see exactly what he was doing, but he's been very consistent over the course of this series. I'm looking forward to seeing more as we go to Dorado.
Dorado. Dorado is one of my favorite hybrid maps in the entire game, just because of all the different looks you have. We've seen teams come up with a whole slew of different defenses here. Some teams favor the courtyard defense. Some will be more in your face, which is a style as of late. Then you go in the second, where there's plenty of ways of playing the streets phase, both high ground or low, and then, of course, the final point, which is generally more defensive favored.
5/6 of the Finnish team are actually sort of the first players to devise a strategy of playing very aggressively on the defense side. They use heroes like Mei, a lot of Winston. Reaper as well was thrown in the mix there during that particular time, but they were the team that revolutionized how tanks were played. It started in Europe and it spread to the rest of the world. So Finland knows sort of how to play that aggressively set up defense. This struggled a little bit, or a lot of these players did, when dive became the gold standard for playing Overwatch compositions here. But I'd expect and I'd hope to see the Finnish squad play quite an aggressive close-up defense to shake Vietnam.
I think that very well what we might be seeing from their defense. But Mitch, I want to fast forward a little bit here and just let's speculate and give the viewers some hope. Do you think when Finland goes to the offense that we'll see Fraggy return to his one true love in Reinhardt again?
I'm glad you brought that up, because there are, of course, a couple of contexts that is generally accepted that Reinhardt kind of works. Now, on the attack, like you mentioned, on the offensive side, you have those choke points, you have those small corridors. That's where the shield becomes very efficient. You can cover a large amount of areas. You go through the underpass there, you can see in the right side of the screen. So you can protect your team to a great degree. What I found very interesting about Fraggy earlier on, though, he used to be his focus was to get damage with the hammer as the enemy got close up and to protect his backline like a D.Va would currently now, as we see quite commonly played in dive comps.
Given how we know Fraggy used to play, just imagine just invisible people holding him back the entire time. It's like, I need to go in. But in the end, he did play it a little bit more conservatively. Not quite the Fraggy of old, but certainly a very effective Fraggy nonetheless.
And Fraggy's a player as well who was probably pretty sad to see Reinhardt played a little bit less of. He moved over towards Winston, and although it took him a little while to really start to get top tier on that hero, now he is one of the sickest Winstons in Europe. I honestly believe that. He's really developed nicely. But Vietnam are going to be on the attacking side. You can see the high ground here, and it is going to be Maria over on that Tracer as well as Soldier 76 for Mr. Hip. That's the comp we're going to run with here. No Genji.
And Vietnam, they're really just taking this up the gut right now. Nothing too crazy in terms of flanks or getting onto high ground early on. They just might be going straight underneath this underpass and challenging Finland to move to them. But Finland's going to have multiple ways of engaging on them over the top. But now Vietnam going in a little bit nuanced, taking some of the high ground, dropping down.
Yeah, a lot of spam's going to go in towards this little underpass here as Vietnam are going to have to get their healing turned up to 11. To sit back. Time got poked down a little bit from distance here, and you can see that it was a little bit low. Again, Emery is going to choose to come forward now, but he walks straight into a hail of fire from the heavy pulse rifle.
Vietnam is really using the buddy system right now. Up until this flank coming out from Emery, they were very close together, but they lose Maverick early on, and Emery, he's really far out of the fight right now, Mitch.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of faith in the rest of his team. He wants to set up to deal with the reinforcements and the spawn-ins, but if he's not there to help the main body of his team, this can go really badly for them, and it has. So now Emery is... Well, he's gone from being in a flanking position to being out of position.
Yeah, and we just see him, look at him, just creeping back and crouching away. He's like, please don't notice me. I swear I'm going back to my team. They didn't see anything.
I think he can get out if he wanted to. I don't know if he knows what's on the other side of that wall here, but Finland are none the wiser to his presence right now. This is pretty good. He's quite entrenched. So we can sort of peek out from that doorway or get behind again. He needs to get one clip on one of these supports, though, and he's been spotted.
All he needed was a cardboard box on top of him, and then he wouldn't have seen him. It works great. I've seen it.
Yeah. I've seen it. Many video games. There's some great ones. Oh, dear. Well, let's see. Finland going to be solid enough here as Vietnam want to snake their way on in. Mr. Hip up on that payload now as well. Bubbling away, Transcendence to come from Finland straight away.
Finland right now trying to match power with power. Transcendence is out. They have to compensate for Linkser being down. But you see Zappe having to back out as a Transcendence fades. And now Vietnam, a Transcendence of their own. They are now in the power position. Mr. Hip, attack visor getting mitigated somewhat by the defensive matrix, but he still gets Zappis in the end. And Vietnam is really applying some very good pressure right now.
Finland are being corralled into the back of this enclosure right now, up towards the left-hand side. There's not much they can do, but Frankie decides to leap forward. He's cut down before he gets there, though, and Vietnam have played this one slow and steady, sticking together as a team. First, it was Zappis who got taken down early on, and now you can see that Mr. Hip can frag out.
He had plenty of space to work with there. Beautiful positioning from him all across the board, and even though he had a diva in his face, he was able to maintain composure and look for the right way of punishing when that diva was eventually dispatched.
Now, 3 minutes and 55 seconds on the clock as Vietnam takes that first point. Emery again went fairly deep and was forced to recall out fairly quickly. We might be, oh yeah, he didn't have his recall available and he got caught by Zappis. That's not ideal. So Simple now just needs to sit back a little bit. He's at risk of being spotted as well, but it's a 5-man squad for Vietnam. They can't go too far forward.
Well, what Simple is looking for is a boop to knock people off early on. It could have been really good, but his team right now needs the support of the Lucio in the back. They end up losing Funky. Did not have anyone to really help him out back there, so I appreciate the gambit coming out from Vietnam. It just wasn't quite enough with the pressure that Finland was applying on their defense.
Definitely an argument to be made there for Simple joining the rest of his team after they've lost Emery, but that's by the by now. As Vietnam are going to group up yet one more time. Soundberry here for Simple. We expect to see that one drawn out. Kill has one himself and a Transcendence. So Finland have the better support ultimates to operate with, and Zappis is going to drop down now, take a lot of damage early here, and use a lot of that defensive matrix.
They lose Funky early on, and now Vietnam has to decide, they drop beat with beat. Well, probably not now. Linkser, the bomb should seal this fight. Vietnam, if they were thinking about going in 5v6, they cannot do it now. They're just going to have to back up and reset, and Finland kind of made that decision for them.
And in this position, Vietnam really need to get off the starting blocks very well in the beginning of a fight. It needs to start with a pick in their favor. If they keep losing players, they must turn tail, they must regroup. They need all 6 on deck.
They do indeed, and Funky has really been the primary target here for Finland, where Funky has had a really rough time surviving, whether it be Linkser in this game, Taimu in the last game. Either way, he's always under pressure. And now, Finland applying the pressure here once more, Mitch, diving in.
Jory sitting back, he does have a self-destruct to the trap, but again, they've lost their player. Vietnam has lost Emery, one of the most crucial parts of their team, but they're still going to push forward because there's no other choice. They've lost Maverick as well, and now they've just got to get the heck out. They've got 6 ultimates, but they can't use them.
Finland has been so good at finishing their plate here, Mitch, where they get the first kill and then roll in from the sides, surround Vietnam, and overpower them with superior numbers. Vietnam can't have this keep happening because they've been charged up for a while now.
Finland are buying, well, they're being allowed to buy far too much time here. Vietnam, though, they're ready. They've got 6 ultimates ready to bring on down, but they need a good start to the fight, and that was the engagement now. They can dictate this on their terms. That's a good start.
It is a good start right now. They still have all the ultimates in the reserve. Maverick going to liven it up. Primal Rage to the back. Still 5 ultimates in the back line. Emrier drops the pulse bomb, doesn't quite get what he's looking for, and now Vietnam commits. They drop the beat, and Taimu is out of the fight. That source of damage is gone. Vietnam going very well here so far, even as Finland drops the beat themselves.
Yeah, Mavericks traded out. There's almost forced to use his Transcendence, which means that actually Vietnam get a late Transcendence in the fight. However, not much is happening here. Finally, Vietnam able to use that killing to their advantage and press forward, but these are heavy losses that have been incurred towards Vietnam. They still need one more fight to actually get towards the next checkpoint. They can't. They're stacking Finland enough right now.
And the problem is here is that Vietnam has paid a very heavy price for the progress that they've gotten here, and now they might be on the verge of losing it. We see Linkser and Taimu combining their powers to the back. They pick off two, and suddenly Vietnam just lost all their momentum.
So this is the transaction that we just saw occur. Vietnam, 5 ultimates. They gain 15 meters of payload space. You can see it's hardly shifted at all. They needed to get a lot more for that. They really needed to decisively wipe Finland, because this is the most treacherous part of the map. This is the hardest part of the map for attackers because it's so far away from the spawn. They need convincing wipes to move the payload and start to pressure that next checkpoint.
And they were close to it. The problem is that Vietnam, they went a little bit too far deep, but now this is their last-ditch gambit. Everyone coming up on the high ground, on the right side. They do show Finland where they're coming from. It's not really stealth here. Finland knows exactly where they're at, and yet they're going to try and get a pick off in the back and work from there. With the pulse bomb, that's a great start.
Yep, Emery has found a key target in Finland right now, and time is to drop. This might just be the snowball that Vietnam are looking for on this last point. Zulfi goes down, although Maverick got a little bit too close for comfort. A pulse bomb coming out from Linkser in kind. You see the payload still being stalled out. Self-destruct, drop down, and Zappos gets one. Simple falls. This is diabolical for Vietnam. They cannot allow this to happen. Now Zappos sustaining through the damage on the payload. Overtime's going to tick down, and Vietnam nowhere to be seen. They're going to get cut down in the streets phase. And they were hoping for so much more. They sat and sat and sat on 6 ultimates, but weren't able to use them constructively enough to get through the Finns.
The Finland defense was mystifying them, where they came in from multiple angles, they got early kills when they needed it, and you can have all the ultimates you need in the world, but if you're not able to get the good engagement and identify your targets and keep getting pushed out of balance, you're not going to be able to convert.
Yeah, and look, it sounds really obvious to say something like this, that it's not the amount of ultimates you have, but how you use them. But there's no better illustration of that than that last fight we saw there. They had everything they needed. The pulse bombs were connecting. I've got to say, Emrier looking really good on that tracer. If you're able to get a stick on Taimu, if you're able to actually, outgame him in that regard, that means Emrier is now stepping up to Linkser's level. So at least Vietnam have that, condition satisfied. Unfortunately, it's sometimes the timing of some of these support ultimates are not quite on sync. Whereas you can see Zup is always going to get a lot of value out of that Transcendence, and he did especially in that Streets phase.
Really, the problem here is that because they weren't getting good engagements and had to come from rough situations, they were always giving Finland incredible counter-ultimate opportunities. So most of those fights, especially in second, were on Finland's terms. However, Mitch, this is where Vietnam, if they wanted to take a map away from Finland and shock the world here, they would do it by going back to an old favorite, a first-point hold here in Dorado, their easiest path to victory.
And we've seen them happen many times before. However, if defensive teams want to be able to satisfy that particular condition, you need to ration your ultimates very well. And the one issue with Vietnam so far has been that they haven't been the most efficient in the deployment of those ultimate abilities. I like the shade of Reaper here. This is very interesting, and this does kind of indicate to us that Vietnam do want to fight Finland quite close to their source.
But here's the question here, is that the Reaper will give them a strong presence on the ground, and yet we look at Finland, we're seeing the ever-rare, ever-tantalizing Taimu in the air. Who told Taimu he could fly?
Emrier can't even interact with this. The Reaper can't do anything to a Pharaoh up in the air. That'll need to be switched, but there might not be the chance to do that. So now Vietnam have to make do with what they have. They need to use Emrier as effectively as possible here to try and, match the impact of Taimu.
This is a case where I don't always think it's the most effective strategy, but it's one they have available to them, where they really just need to focus on the ground and pound, get a solid engagement while Taimu is a little bit out of position. That's how they win this fight, even though they can't pressure him well. If you wait too long and let Taimu poke, it is probably going to end against you. And
this puts a lot of strain on KJR's defense matrix as well. He'd rather be using it to deal with traces and the like, but he's got to deal with his Pharaoh now. Taimu getting zapped a little bit there, but Funky goes down the rocket vertically, dropped on his head, and that's the opening that Finland are going to be looking for, but Zappos is traded out in response.
Funky has been Taimu's favorite target, and he gets him again. It is relatively bloody here in the fight, but Finland's doing a good job of breaking their way in, and if Linkser winning that Tracer v Tracer battle, the pressure is not going to be stopping anytime soon. It keeps on moving in, and Vietnam is slowly bleeding out.
Yeah, I can see Zupe leading from the rear here now. The damage to come down, and unbeknownst to Vietnam, they had picked possibly the worst team composition to deal with a Pharaoh that you could possibly pick. A Tracer and a Reaper. Neither of those can really pressure Pharah out of those sightlines. They can't really pressure Taimu out of the most optimal angles for dropping rockets down, and that's the first checkpoint for Finland off the back of that and the fight that happened.
I mean, clearly Taimu read the weather report coming in here. It said clear skies for Pharah, and for once, the weather report was right because he's having one heck of a time here, and even with the soldier coming into play, snipes him down from long range with the help of Kinnel. This is looking so good for Finland.
And now we actually see Funky over towards the Anna. They get Anna in 76 now, being picked up for Vietnam, so they realize that there's a big threat in Taimu's Pharah, but again, he's got a barrage, so he wants to make use of that. That's a nice little boot pop. This could be big. If K-Jerry gets desuited, the barrage could be devastating.
Oh, he gets the self-destruct up just in time, drops it back over. Taimu having the dodge for his life, so he will get back in the mech, but it did force it out. It wasn't really a ideal self-destruct. It was an, oh god, I need to live self-destruct.
Yeah, so Taimu played that well. He got just out of range here, and if K-Jerry gets desuited again, that could be a big problem. Pulse Bomb dropped onto the aforementioned individual. That's going to be the barrage coming down. K-Jerry, oh, he gets birthed out of the suit into a hail of rockets, and the weather report might have just changed. I think it might be sunny with a chance of getting wrecked. Taimu over the top there. The rocket's going to be nasty. Finland are very close to their objective.
Gotta watch out for those rockets. You need a stronger umbrella. He's moving forward. They almost get it, and that's going to be it. They bring the payload to fruition. The Pharah of Taimu doing its job, and Finland living up to the hype. 4-0 in their favor. What a start for them here in the Overwatch World Cup 2017.
Confidence was definitely justified for this team coming into this particular match as well. They'd said we'd spent some time scrimming here in Australia. We've now got some more time to play with Taimu. But again, for Vietnam, I feel like we've seen some promising signs from them. This group is not cut and dry. No. When you think about some of the other occupants, Spain and Japan, we've now seen what Vietnam can bring to bear as well. Their Sombra play was also interesting to see. I'd say interesting. It wasn't as effective as they would have liked it to be. I think they've got a fantastic Diva player in K-Jerry, though. He's definitely been quite impressive.
K-Jerry definitely had a good showing there, and let's not forget, Diva is very important in this meta, so if Vietnam has anything to look forward to lick their wounds moving in to the final 2 days, K-Jerry might have to be a linchpin because he did look very good. He just needs the rest of the team to play around him, and they have to find a way to get through their future opponents.
So we got the memo, by the way. We're in contact with the people, the people that matter, and you've told us that you like a little bit of Taimu, so we definitely have managed to capture some pretty impressive scenes from him over the course of this match. We've got to have a bit of a recap here as well of what he was able to do on Dorado. The Pharah was a bit more of an interesting pick for him, and the impact was there. You can see they're getting fired up. Taimu loves his plays, I'll tell you. He's already picking up some of the Aussie slang. He's already getting into the field of it. The crowd love him, and he loves them back. It's a nice little arrangement.
That man loves himself some Overwatch. He looks absolutely brilliant. And now you take a look at the replay here. Pharah out in full effect. The barrage rolling right in, taking down 2. And if your defensive matrix doesn't have enough time left on it, you're in for a bad time. Taimu delivering a dose of absolutely catastrophic weather to the Vietnam team.
Right, and again, what we saw, it's a little bit hard to deal with the Pharah if you don't have the right team composition for it. Eventually we saw a switch from Vietnam. Quick, some of the highlights of this match, and we'll be back after with the desk to wrap it up.